Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to play a tank that no one plays. Yes, no one really plays this tank anymore. And in fact, it is a tech tree tank, but it's a tank that you just very rarely see. It's an okay tank. It is nothing special at all. We are of course looking at the T20, an American medium, and again it's one of those that you're grinding the line, and then as soon as you grinded the line, as soon as you can get the Persian, you sort of get it. You then sell the T20, and then you never play it again. It is one of those tanks. I still enjoy the tank. I've got one of the, years ago I had a Hall of Fame in the game, in this tank actually. Yeah, it made it onto Bushka's replays of the week that he used to do, and I was very proud. This was before my YouTube days when Bushka was like massive. Yeah, and he showed my replay in the T20. It was like just over 5k, I think, which was back then was actually pretty good. So T20 medium. Again, there are so many mediums, so many better mediums in tier 7 now. So yeah, I get why people don't play it. I get why they just sort of grind the line, get the Persian, and never play it again. But you give this tank a chance, and actually it's all right. It's not too bad. Armor wise, yeah, it has no armor. 110 millimeters on the turret. So if you are up against tier 6s, you may get the troll bounce on the turret. If you're in a hold down position, but you can't rely on the armor whatsoever. Just 64 on your hull. Your DPM, I still think it is very good at 2,193. That is a 6.16 second reload. And the penetration 173, APCR 255, and 49 on your HE. You do have a 225 alpha gun, so not a massive alpha, and 190 on your APCR and 270 on your HE. Aim time 3 seconds, yeah, it's okay, and the gun dispersion is 0.335, not the best, but you know, you can live with that. It's not really a tank to play from distance. You do have 10 degrees of gun depression, however, which is very nice, and then a top speed of 52 kilometers per hour. So we're going to get into it. We've got a couple of games, just one of my horrible games that it doesn't, obviously I'm not as OP as some of these players, and then a little bit of a better game. So overall, I think the gun is decent. Honestly, it can struggle against tier 8s. I'm not going to lie, but if you do switch to the APCR in this thing, you can penetrate anything, which is why I really sort of wanted to show this game. It's nothing special, but I do come up against some of the heavies, and yes, against tier 8 heavies using your AP, you are going to struggle. But as soon as you switch to the APCR, I mean, look here, APCR, no problem against that Emil 1951 at all. Even on the turret, like no problem whatsoever. So yeah, but again, you've got to remember you do not have any armor whatsoever. So I've managed to bounce at least 310 this game, but do not rely on the armor at all. And these tanks, I've said it before, these tanks that don't really get played, whether they're premiums, whether they're collectibles, whether they are tech tree tanks, it's about time Wargaming sort of gave these tanks a little bit of love, because I don't think these tech tree tanks should be played just to grind, and that is what you see with a lot of these tanks, especially the tech tree tanks. They play the tank to get to the next tier, which is of course the goal of playing them, and then they're just never played again. But you want to be playing them. You know, there are some tanks out there, you know, say the Tiger 1, the Tiger 2, these kind of tanks, and there's a lot of tier 8s to be fair. These kind of tanks that it doesn't matter if you've even got the next tier, you still go to play that tank because it's a good tank. You want to have fun, and some of these tanks are actually fun to play. So Wargaming should give these tanks a little bit of love. They should make people want to play them and not have to play them. And that is the thing with a lot of tech tree tanks. People have to play them. But I think Wargaming should, you know, they're rebalancing a lot of tanks at the minute. So why don't they do the tanks that are just never played? And like the T20, you know, just go play it. Just go buff it somehow, make it better. I'm not saying make it overpowered by any means, but make it better. Make people want to play the tank, not because they have to play the tank. And that is something Wargaming, I think, never really look at when it comes to sort of rebalancing. A lot of it is sort of tier 10 rebalances or tier 9 rebalances, or tanks that are often played are getting rebalanced. But these tanks that are never ever played just never really get touched, and it's a shame, because some of them can really be nice tanks. The T20, it can be a very, very nice tank. You give it more, say, a little bit more penetration and a turret maybe, then it would be a different tank, and it would actually be more fun to play. But with the armor profile that it's got, then yeah, it does kind of suffer. And it's just one of those tanks that, you know, I enjoy, but again, it could be better. I think the DPM is fine. I do think the penetration is fine. But yeah, I'd just like to see it maybe have a little bit of a stronger turret. And then I think it would be okay. I think it would be, you know, a lot more enjoyable to play. And that's what, in my opinion, Wargaming should do a lot more. But let me know. Do you agree? Do you think Wargaming should buff these tech tree tanks? I'm not talking about premium tanks. Well, you know, it'd be nice for Wargaming to buff some premium tanks like the T-34 85 Rudy. You know, these tanks that are never played no more. And really, even if they're in the store, people don't buy them because they're just not worth it anymore. So let me know in the comments, do you think that Wargaming should change the way they rebalance certain tanks? And do you think they should look after these tanks that are not played? And this being one of them. And there's a couple more, you know, there is a couple more, of course there is. I'm not just talking about the T20, but majority of the lower tier tech tree tanks, like the tier 6s, there are some really good tanks. There is some really good tier 7 tanks as well, like that tank right there, the T29. Absolutely fantastic tank. But yeah, these kind of tanks like the T20, the mediums, the light tanks, they just kind of get left, and it is a shame. It is a shame, because I do think Wargaming should give these tanks a little bit of love. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think they're going to look at these tanks and think, you know what? Yeah, we're going to buff this. We're going to make this good. Let's make this OP. Let's make people want to play it and not just want to grind it. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But as I've said, leave it in the comments below. What tanks do you think should be buffed in the tech tree? What tanks do you think should be buffed? And going by the fact that what I've already said, so not just to grind. And there are some tanks that are awful grind. The T28, for example. There is some tanks that are absolutely awful to grind. So let's make them fun, you know. Let's make them good, and let's make them enjoyable, so we actually enjoy the grind. Because there's going to be a lot of players out there that just save up all their free XP because they do not want to play the tank. And you don't want that, because that means they're going to get to tier 10 even quicker. You want people to enjoy playing. So make these enjoyable to grind, not awful. But, you know, maybe one day these kind of tanks will be OP. Who knows? But let me know in the comments below what you think. But for now, hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all soon. Bye-bye.